We're recording. Okay. This meeting's being recorded. Okay, got it. All right, we all good? We all set? And feel free to you don't have to, like, if I'm talking, you can go get food. They're not going to watch you coming to get food in and out while they're recording this. Well, thanks. I apologize for coming in late. Let's put touch-ups on there, and then thought I got my times mixed up. I actually thought I was early, so obviously I was not. So the title here, Whistle While You Work, and a little bit more. So Whistle While You Work, what is that from? Snow White. Who has not seen Snow White? Everybody seen it at least a little bit? Okay, good. I was gonna have to tell you to leave, and you'd have to go watch the movie and then watch this later if you weren't able to see it. So we look at, that's gonna be okay. It doesn't block there. So when we look at Snow White, I was thinking about the seven dwarfs, and you know, Happy. This is kind of who we want to be generally. We're at work, right? We want to be this person. I probably should have put Doc. Doc kind of is more of, he's happy and he's more knowledgeable. If you watch the movie, he's the one who explains to them how to like wash their faces and stuff before they eat. Happy probably was just too happy, but I didn't think about that until after I did this. So this is who we want to be whenever we look at ourselves and we think about these seven dwarves. Who am I and who do I want to be in this group? And most of us can identify people we don't want to be. You know, I'm thinking in terms of in the workplace, so that we can feel good, we can feel happy, we can feel productive, and all the things. Because most of our time is spent at work, right? I mean, it's the truth, unfortunately. But most of our time is spent at work. I say unfortunately, that sounds really negative. I'm happy to go to work, so that's not a bad thing. We go home, we eat, we sleep there, and we spend our weekends. But a lot of times we're here. So this is who we don't want to be. And I want you to think about yourself and times when you've been this person. And we're going to talk about the different things that cause us to be like this. So the first thing I have here is stress. And that's a really, bad 5-letter word that we hear a lot. But we have to talk about it a little bit. Whenever we have extra stress, are we more prone to be grumpy or upset? It's easier for our fuse to get up. Like, I can't tell you how many times, like when a lot of stuff's going on, I've got a teenager and a 13-year-old, 11-year-old, and I've got a toddler. So sometimes it's hard to balance when somebody needs something and the toddler's coming in and destroying everything. And it's easy to lose my cool a little bit and have to like take a step back versus times when we're just chilling on a Sunday at home watching a movie and something happens. If for some reason it's not a big deal, right? Or let's say you had a rough day and then you're driving home and someone pulls in front of you or cuts you off a little bit. If it was a different day, maybe not so bad, you kind of like, man, what are they thinking? That was dumb. Versus yelling and screaming at them. So that's what stress can do to us, and it makes us not very happy, and that makes the people around us not very happy, okay? So what about blood sugar? We've heard the term hangry. We've seen the Snickers commercials. And so what happens there is when we don't have proper nutrition or our sugars are off, that messes with us, and it makes it difficult to focus, do things at work because we don't feel good because of sugar. Pain. So who here has ever, well, I'm not going to do that because that's one of those everybody experiences. We can all have pain at different times. And pain, I remember when I was in chiropractic school and I was having, ironically, severe back pain and sciatic pain in chiropractic school. And I remember sitting in my desk and I'd sit here and I feel like I was like almost sweating because I was so tight and I hurt so bad. It was so hard to like focus on what the professors were saying because I hurt so bad. It's very hard to focus when you're hurting. And then digestion. Now, if you've never experienced severe constipation or bloating where your insides just feel like they're coming out like this, it's really hard to focus on anything when this feels like that. It really can bother you. And so all these things make us to where we're not nice and we're not focused. So we talked a little about stress. I thought this was a fun little animation there. But this, you see all their faces? Like, this is what we feel like on the inside. Now, sometimes we can have a lot of stress and we feel like everything's going fine, but on the inside, maybe it's not. And we don't necessarily have to be stressed out per se, but on the insides, there's a lot of chemical changes going on that's affecting your ability to focus, your ability to balance your blood sugar, things like that. So blood sugar here, this one, how many of us know people with diabetes or like pre-diabetes? I mean, most of us know people like that. Unfortunately, this has become a big problem. And when it comes to blood sugar, we don't do a very good job of figuring out how to make our meals. I mean, I did bring cookies today, but make our meals to have less sugar and make our meals so they aren't so big, just a few times a day. And that really can mess us up. You know, you've heard people talk about eating small meals throughout the day. Some people do intermittent fasting. There's different ways to work with that. Intermittent fasting doesn't always work for somebody who has blood sugar issues because it's going to tank and they're really going to have problems. And so some people need to eat throughout the day to keep that blood sugar balanced. And if you're going to start your day eating, what are common breakfast foods nowadays? When we think of breakfast food, what do we think of? Well, some people think of eggs. What about oatmeal? What about donuts? Is that a breakfast food? No. Well, I mean, we advertise as breakfast food. Cinnamon rolls, pancakes, French toast, all these breakfast foods. So when you load yourself with that and with carbs, you're going to tank. So whenever we have Thanksgiving dinner, what usually happens like a couple hours later? The crash, right? So what do we usually think that's from? We always hear turkey, like tryptophan, the turkey, right? We blame it on the turkey. No, it's the mashed potatoes, and it's the macaroni and cheese. It's the stuffing. That's what's getting you. I mean, there's some tryptophan in turkey, but how often do you eat? Like, let's say you go to a theme park or a game and you get a big turkey leg. Are you crashing an hour later while you're out there? Not really. You get more protein, which is going to help fuel. It's the other stuff that's in there that's making you crash, in my opinion. All right, so neck pain. All right, this one was funny. So we call this now tech neck. Have y'all heard that term before? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And most of us have phones. We look down. I think pretty much all of you are at computers. Is that about right? Yeah. So a lot of my patients are sitting at computers, which is causing this, especially if you don't have your setup with your screen up here. How many of you work on laptops? Hopefully not really too much laptop. Okay. So that's really hard on your system because you're usually like this. If you have a nice setup, your screen is up here, and hopefully that is, because I've had some patients come in, not that work here, but for the city, and we've done some things with their neck, and they raised their screen up just a tad, like maybe an inch or two, and it made all the difference in the world. So really look at your screen and see where it's at. Also, something I've noticed too, hopefully this can pick me up. All right, so I sit at this desk. I mean, you can get the screen up high, but look at where my arms are for my keyboard and my mouse. You see how I'm up like this? And that's going to cause this to tighten up here. And the problem is when you get desks that are lower to where your hands are right here, what happens to your knees? They hit the desk. And so trying to figure out a good place there. I find wireless keyboards are really nice because you can let your arms relax while you type. And same with the mouse, or just up here, depending on what you're doing. But I find that that's a big way to try to help ease attention here. And then what does stress do to our muscles? Yeah, it does. Because stress is your fight or flight system, which we want. We need that. We need to be able to, when a stressor comes, to get like this, because this is our fight or flight. Like, we're going to run, or we're going to fight back, and we're going to tighten up like this so we can spring forward and do something, except it's made to do that, and then we get away, and then we can relax and go back to our normal activities. But if our normal activities are always like this, then it causes things to get really tense and increases our pain. And this is a cool example of, I don't know if y'all can see the numbers here, but as your head moves forward a little bit, it increases the amount of weight that your neck is having to hold up. And so over time, that weight builds up, and you end up here with constant pull. Now, if you have muscles that are attached here and here, and they're supposed to sit like this, as your head goes forward, what happens to those muscles? They start to stretch, and they attach up here. So now we start getting headaches through here. We get tension all down back in here, and it makes it difficult for us to focus at work. So let's look at some things we can do, because I have a few stretches and exercises I want to talk about, but I'm trying to think about what you can do at home. I don't want to give you things that you're going to be on the floor at work, because nobody wants to do that, and nobody wants to have somebody like staring at them while they're doing yoga poses on the floor. So simple ones you can see on here, and we've all heard this. It's just simple, like stretch the side, stretch both ways. One that I like here, yeah, do it gently, and also bring your hand, my microphone, bring your hand around like this and do it, because what this is targeting is this levator scap back here. Because many times, if you get a crick in your neck, you wake up in the morning, and where does it hurt? It hurts here, all the way down to that shoulder blade, right? That's that levator scapula, and it's not moving very well. So that's a way you can focus there. I like when patients will stretch like this. I mean, this is nice. It feels good when you come down like this, but usually our head is unfortunately going that way anyway. And we want to stretch the muscles some, but you don't want to do that too much, because we're pulling it the wrong way. And that's going to cause you problems when you're at work. So working on stretching up like this and looking at the ceiling and hold it for a little bit and then relax. I mean, you can just take a few minutes, not even a minute, and just go through some of these stretches. And that's going to make a big difference through your day if you do that every once in a while, just to loosen up your neck and your shoulders. This one goes into chin tucks as well, because you've got muscles back here. These muscles back here affect and hold your neck up, just like the muscles along your back are holding your back up straight. And so one of the ways to activate that is to do this. I call it the double chin exercise, because no matter who you are, you're going to get a double chin when you do this. But it tightens this part up. And so this is a really good one to do a few times. And if you do this, you can feel a little tension back here that's working those muscles. So those are really good ones I do in my practice with my patients a lot to help with neck. So think really side to side stretches. You can do it like this, or you can add a little bit of pressure, and then rotation. If you go all the way as far as you can go, and then push a little bit more and go back. Same thing here on this side. Go all the way and a little bit more, and do that maybe a couple times a day while you're sitting at your desk. It's going to make a huge difference in how you feel. So some back exercises you can do. You can do this sitting or standing. And basically what I'm doing is focusing on these scapula right here. Because what happens when we're at our desk and we're looking at our phone? We're like this. And everything rolls forward. And we see this posture a lot, don't we? And we see with younger kids too. Like a lot of our teenagers are here. And that is pulling all this. So if I have a picture right here in this direction, what you do is you just pinch your shoulder blades back like this here, and you don't want to pull your head forward because you want your head up, and you pinch your shoulder blades back. Now, what I didn't show here is you can do this with different angles of your arms. So we do this in our practice a lot. We'll do angles here and back. You can go here and go back. You can go here and here. Like all those different angles are going to be super helpful with the different muscles. And these are things you can do. Let's say you're working and you want to stand up next to your desk. You can do this right here. And no one's going to look at you too funny, really, when you're doing that. They'll be like, "Oh, you're stretching. Oh, it's a good idea. Oh, that looks like it feels good." It's what they're gonna think, even though they're gonna tease you, but that's okay. So those are things that if you take like a few seconds, do those every day, it's gonna really help with your neck. So chiropractic. How many of you have been to a chiropractor before? So I'm a chiropractor, and if you haven't, then well, if you have, you've seen most likely you've seen the benefits from it. But like this study says, talking about manual thrust and manipulation had 30% reduction in low back pain at week 4, and you can see the 90%, 94% versus 56% versus with medication, and medication's not really going to fix it. And we have a problem these days with opioids and pain meds anyway. So another way to help with this is to make sure that you can get adjusted and get mobility in your spine, which is going to help a lot with this neck and shoulder pain that you may be having that's affecting you at work. Okay, Sneezy, that's our next one. It's been a long time on Grumpy. Sneezy. We think of Sneezy, we're thinking, and he's got allergy problems. Maybe he's got a problem with colds. We live in the era of COVID, cold and flu season now. And so what do we need to focus on to help us? Because if we're sitting at your desk and you're sneezing and your nose is draining, that's really difficult to work. And then nobody really wants to be close to you because everybody gets nervous nowadays whenever we have a cough or we're sneezing. So first thing, we think of allergies. How many of you have allergies in here? So allergies are becoming really common. Mold and fungus is a big one, especially in this area. So I didn't bring some of my test kits, and one of the ways that I look at allergies is the sinuses that are getting congested and draining. What does all that connect to? Lymph nodes, that's one area. So that's looking at immune system. What happens when you're like breathing in and stuff, so you get postnasal drip? Where's it going? In your throat. And where does your throat lead to? Your stomach. It leads to your intestines. So there's a major connection between this and this. So what I find with people who have chronic sinus stuff is, yes, you can spray stuff in there all day, but it's going to keep coming back. The underlying issue is coming from down here in your intestinal tract. And a lot of people in this area, especially because we're molding now, where everybody's coughing now because we're talking about it, we have issues with mold and fungus that our body, we're constantly breathing this stuff in. We're eating things, we're breathing stuff in, it's making it down, and it's growing in here. I know it sounds really gross, but you got all kinds of nasty stuff growing inside your bodies trying to handle all the time. So when it gets a little bit overgrown, then it can manifest itself by growing up in this area. So when I look at allergies, I look at mold and fungus particularly, you have to do things to help your intestines to function better and to clean that stuff out. So there's herbs you can do. There are ways to change how you eat that doesn't feed those things as much as before. Anybody heard of the candida? You heard that before? So candida is like a fungus that's very common. If you look at the list of symptoms you can get from candida, it can come everything from sinus infections to fatigue to brain fog to joint pain, because that stuff gets everywhere. It causes problems. Now with the allergies are, it's not really an infection, but it's an immune system reaction. So your immune system is getting hypersensitive to normal things. Now, 80% of our immune system is here. So oftentimes, and I'm not saying if you have a peanut allergy that it's going to like go away, but oftentimes if you have seasonal allergies, if you can clear this up, then your 80% immune system relaxes a little bit and doesn't get so hyper-reactive to the things around you. And there's a lot of things you can do for that. So that goes into sinus infections here and low immune system. Things that affect the immune system, again, we'll come back to stress. That really affects the immune system. Now, stress can come in many different forms. So stress can come in the forms of, we think of environmental stress or work, home. But stress comes from pain. If you're in a lot of pain, that really sets your stress system off. Also, if you're feeling bloated and you have problems with your diet, that's going to set your stress system off. And sometimes we need some support. That's why I put diet supplements, not because that causes it, but those are things that you can do to help support your stress system and keep your chemicals more balanced, help your body work better. So we talked a little bit about the gut coming to the sciences, but there's a major gut-brain connection. And what happens there is they are talking to each other. Y'all heard of like gut instinct before? Had a gut instinct? You kind of get a feeling. Well, you've got nerves all through here with your vagus nerve that connects to your brain, and it can sense things that are happening and tell your brain, give it ideas of what to do. Also, your brain's going to tell your intestines, hey, I put food in there, so you need to get moving to take care of this stuff. And then your gut's going to say, well, I got inflammation, and your brain's going to go, oh, that's not good. And then it starts setting things off. So there's a lot of things going on back and forth that are affecting your whole body. And we forget that this is a major part of neurotransmitters. Y'all know what neurotransmitters are? Neurotransmitters are the chemicals that talk back and forth in your brain. Have you heard of serotonin? That's a big thing when it comes to people try to work with depression is SSRIs or serotonin reuptake inhibitors are trying to give you more serotonin so you feel happier. Well, a major area of making serotonin is in your intestines. That's why you see this arrow going back and forth from the gut neurotransmitters to the brain, affecting stress, anxiety, and mood. And so if you want to feel happier as well as feeling better, you got to work on your intestinal tract. Now, not only is it going to be food and things, but the nerves go to the intestinal tract. And how do we affect the nerves? Well, you can affect it by working with the spine. There's many people I've had come in my office with constipation issues or gut issues that just doing adjustments in the lower back and even up here, it's made changes in they have better gut regulation because the nerves are communicating better with those organ systems. So that's a pretty neat thing that can be accessed with it. Same thing here this was a study they did with kids with people with asthma. I've seen this with my wife. My wife used to have asthma attacks, especially if she got around chemicals or she been around cigarette smoke, it would set her off and she would stop breathing like this. The first time it happened was at church. And we walked by somebody with some really strong perfume. And she was about to go in the room and she turned and looked at me and she's like, doing this. So we came around the side and I learned this from another chiropractor who did this in a parking lot with somebody. Walked up behind her. I did a quick adjustment to open up her ribs and her lungs, took a deep breath, and then she was okay. We didn't go back in there, but it opened things up. It helped the nervous system respond, broke that pattern. And the more I've been able to work with her, the less she has issues with. Now she can, if she gets around something like that, it doesn't set her off like it used to. When it used to, very, very often. So chiropractic care with the nervous system can make a big difference there too. Again, which is going to help you feel better at work. Okay, sleepy. Now we just ate, so the sugars are breaking down and we're getting sleepy after lunch. That's a typical time to get your low. So sleepiness, joint pain and tension, we've already talked about how that bothers us. How many of you have been in bed and you're laying down, you can't get comfortable because your shoulder's off, or your neck's hurting, or your back? That's a big area that it causes us to not sleep very well. And so now it's very difficult to focus at work, right? So now what are you going to do? You're going to do those exercise and stretches we just went over. Insomnia. Insomnia is a tough one. Like true insomnia. And it can be different things. Insomnia can be, I can't fall asleep. It could be, I can't stay asleep. I can't shut my brain off. And there's many different causes for insomnia you got to work with. Adrenal fatigue. So if your adrenal glands, which are making cortisol, which is a hormone that keeps you up, and it's supposed to jump up early in the morning and kind of go down at night so you can sleep. If that's not firing, then you're just like a walking zombie. If you have adrenal fatigue or thyroid people, see if you have thyroid issues. Anybody have thyroid issues? Okay. So if before you found your medication to help it, you just feel like you can't do anything. Or if you miss a dose, then you just feel terrible. So there's a lot of hormone and chemical things that are taking place that need to get fixed in order to help those. And again, we go into sugar and carbs. If, like I said, if you're going to eat a giant stack of pancakes and go right into work, you'll be good for about 30 minutes to an hour. Then after that, you're going to break it all down and you're going to start crashing. And that's going to make you sleepy as well. So here's our pain insomnia thing. And a lot of people have this, and it may not just be pain. Let's say you lay down to sleep and your hand or arm starts falling asleep. I have patients that have had that problem too. And that comes down to all the structural things. And that's where the exercise you can do at your computer can be helpful. And that's where adjustments, chiropractic adjustments, massage therapy, those can be very beneficial in order to help reduce the pain and tension and get better mobility. Now that the falling asleep, I saw a couple head nods there, because I get a lot of people who will think they have carpal tunnel because their hands falling asleep. Carpal tunnel typically is going to be these fingers. If your whole hand's falling asleep, it's probably coming from farther up somewhere else, because your median nerve, which splits right here as it goes through this tunnel, that's where it splits right before the median nerve goes through. True carpal tunnel, that little tunnel here is collapsing on it, and these are getting numb. The whole hand's getting numb. That whole hand is median nerve and ulnar nerve, and those come from all the way up through here. So usually if somebody's whole hand is going numb, then I'm looking at the whole thing. Actually, can I have a volunteer? I want to test something. Somebody that I know, Paul, you can't come up because I know you'll think I'm like cheating or something. Yeah, come on up. So we're going to do a little muscle test and check something here. All right, so I'm going to choose, so stand, face them. Let me see this hand right here. So what we're going to do is do a little muscle test. I have her hold your pinky thumb like this, and I want you to hold it tight and don't let me pull it apart. That was pretty good on that side. Let me see this side. Do it again. Okay, big difference there. Let's try that again, just so. And you can feel a difference on that one. So I'm going to pull. I'm pulling really hard on that. I don't know if y'all can tell. This one, try really hard. Like that's really easy to do on this side. So does this hand fall asleep? No? Okay. So you have thoracic outlet. Okay, so thoracic outlet means that we have an issue where the nerve is getting compressed in here coming through this way. So let me have you step forward a little bit. So with thoracic outlets, and for people who don't know if they have something with their shoulder, I'll test this. I'm going to bring arm across here. And now try to hold. Now it's really hard to do, right? And so if I come out this way, and now try. See how much stronger that just got? And so when we look at that, as a chiropractor, I can evaluate this. I can check her neck. So tilt your head to the side. If it's true thoracic outlet, then the neck is not going to be helpful. Hold tight. Hold again, hold tight. But doesn't make a big difference. So if we've got thoracic outlet, which means that most likely the shoulder's rolling forward, what are some of the muscles we've already talked about that help support the shoulders from coming forward? We talked about some of the back muscles, right? Okay, so then let's check some back muscles. So we're going to do here, I'm going to push this way, and you're going to push out towards me. It's really hard to do right there. You said you had thyroid problems? I saw you raise your hand. Take that hand and touch right here where your thyroid is, your right hand. So every muscle associated with different organ systems. So this is an interesting way you can evaluate. Is my issue coming from the joint? Yes. Could it be coming from something else that's affecting it? Push out. Okay, big difference there. Move your hand away and push out. So the teres minor muscle, which is right back here, associates with your thyroid. All right, so now turn around. So now we're going to do a test. Come this way a little more. I want you to push back towards me. Okay, see how hard? That's really hard for her to do. Let's check this side. And push back. That's stronger, isn't it? So now we've got an imbalance. Coming back this way. Turn around and face them. So we said your neck wasn't part of it, but if I hold your neck right here, which supplies the nerves that go back here, let's see if that makes a change. push back towards me? It does not. If I come down here, push again. Big difference. Okay, turn around. So all I'm doing is I'm touching right here in the spine. Push back. Now she's got a lot better control because of the nerves coming through here. All right, thank you very much. So what we're looking at is how we have these issues, but how do we fix them? Well, doing the muscle work, that's going to be helpful. But if you have a problem in your spine and you're making that muscle bigger, is that going to help the communication to that muscle? Not really. Sometimes you have to work on the spine to help the nerve communication go to that muscle to support the shoulder to hold it in place. Also, that teres minor, it's a small muscle right here that works with rotation that kind of keep your shoulders back like this. If you have thyroid issues, that's going to affect your teres minor, and then your arms have a tendency to roll in like this. Same with back here. This area, these rhomboids have a close connection to your liver. And if your liver is a little sluggish, that can also affect those muscles. So we have to look at the whole body. We're trying to figure out how to get this working properly. How am I in time, by the way? I don't know what time it is. Huh? 12:04. Okay. Y'all need to get back soon? Or I don't know. Okay. So this kind of went through all the stuff that we talked about. We didn't discuss leg cramps, and typically that's a mineral imbalance. And your minerals you're probably getting in your food, but that usually means you're not digesting them and absorbing them. And that's why you're not getting the calcium to the tissues. And that's an issue oftentimes with stress, because stress affects our brain, affects digestion, and makes it difficult to make your stomach acid to break those minerals down to get the things into your muscles. And that's where cramps oftentimes come from. That was a lot of information. Did y'all catch that? So stress affects brain, fight or flight system. It's fight or flight system is the opposite of rest and digest system. You don't make the stomach acid to break this down, and then you don't break your minerals, you don't absorb them, and you get imbalances and it causes cramps. That's a big process that causes lots of other problems too. Okay, so another issue was sleeping. Now this slide, it was a little more suggestive than I thought it was when I first put it on there. But 3 a.m. is a common time that people would just wake up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. So, but if you look at acupuncture, this chart, if you go down to the side on the bottom left, 3 a.m., we have liver. So this at acupuncture, every few hours, one of the acupuncture meridians, that's its time to run higher and to do more of its job. And between 1 and 3 is liver. So people are waking up around that time. That's usually a liver thing. It could be lungs as well. If you have something that hits you in the middle of the day, oftentimes it could be, if it's the same time every time, I'm looking at acupuncture systems going, okay, what are we missing there that we need to work on that could be causing you to have these symptoms at that particular time of day? Kind of interesting, right? Now, these also associate with different emotions, and I don't have those up there. I believe liver was like anger or grief. And so sometimes things that we're experiencing with work or with family that affect us emotionally can affect those acupuncture systems that cause us to wake up at certain times too. And there's ways that you can evaluate that with muscle testing. I'll use another example. I need another volunteer. Who wants to try? Okay, come on up. All right. So face this way. So we're going to do an arm. I'm going to test an arm muscle. So right here, I want you to push up against my hand. Okay, good. So that one's working fine. So now we have to check and make sure the muscle is truly working properly. If I pinch the muscle, the spindle cells, it should weaken out automatically. Push up. Okay. Did you try to really hard on that one? Okay. Well, now it's your push. Now it's going to work again. But if I do it again, push up, and it's a lot harder. Okay.
Yeah.
Did that hurt?
No.
Okay. All right. So I know this muscle's working like it's supposed to. So now I'm going to actually just contact or have her contact some different acupuncture points and see how that affects your nervous system, which will then manifest itself through a nerve test that I'm doing here. So let's go to, I want to tell them what I'm checking because I don't want them to know things about you, I guess. But go to, find your belly button. You don't have to lift up your shirt. Okay, so I'm going to touch these two. I'm kind of in the way. All right, I'll touch these two spots. Push up with this on. No change there. I'm going to go right here and push up. It's a little harder right there. Push up again. So when I go here, so this is an acupuncture point, the alarm point for your stomach. Right there, right in the middle, between your sternum and your belly button, right in the middle. So what I can do here is evaluate, like, okay, so there may be something going on with your stomach. We talked about how muscles are associated with different organ systems. So now we're going to check some muscles associated with your stomach. Well, that's probably why it's showing up. Okay, so she said she just had surgery on her stomach recently. So that's probably why you're a good example. Okay, but that means that I found something. It didn't show up somewhere else, but it showed up on stomach. So that means that, I'm not making it up. And I didn't know she had that. So face me this way. So now we're going to check some muscles associated with that here. So your pectoralis major muscle. So try to hold them tight together. That's pretty hard to do.
Yeah.
So I want you to feels like you're chewing, and it stimulates your brain. And when you chew, it makes your brain want to produce stomach acid just to get the stomach. Now hold them tight. Big difference there.
Yeah.
So some of the ways that we look at the body is the connections with, okay, if I want to help her shoulders and her neck, which may be coming in like this, and I'm going through testing and I find a stomach thing, I need to help her with her stomach and digestion in order to help this from pulling forward, or relaxing too much because of what's going on here. And so these are different ways to evaluate your body in order to understand how things are working both externally with your joints, but also internally on how things are going on inside. All right, thank you. Hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that was helpful. So this is all applied kinesiology that I do in my practice. Okay, finally we get to Dopey. Dopey, I think of brain fog, like we just can't think straight. Like me this morning when I got my times mixed up and I got here late, like I was thinking of I'm so dopey right now when coming in. So nutrient deficiencies I think of with this because we're not getting enough of our B vitamins or maybe fish oil, we can't break them down. And so our brain's not getting the proper nutrients that we need. Deficiencies, we talked about the gut-brain connection. Well, if our digestion is having problems, we have an overgrowth in here, now the bacteria growing is not the right ones we want, and the byproducts they make from when they break down things are producing chemicals that are harmful to our body, and now we're getting brain issues. Hormone imbalance. This usually is more associated with women, but men can have hormone imbalances too with testosterone and estrogen that cause all kinds of problems. Headaches. How hard is it to think we have a headache? I don't get headaches very often, and some people live with them and have them a lot. I get them rarely, and when I get a headache, it's probably not even that bad. If I talk to somebody who's a migraine sufferer, they'll just laugh at me. But even a small headache, I'm not doing well. I can't think straight. And so I've had, usually the headaches that I see are associated with neck things. Like if you can get the neck in a better place and feeling better, it takes tension off and the headache goes away. Migraines are usually a blood flow thing that you can work with different things like fish oil, B vitamins. Also, your vertebral artery runs along here. And so there's different ways to help the blood flow to decrease headaches. And then dehydration, most people don't drink enough water, either because we don't think about it or we don't want to because we don't want to go to the bathroom during the day because we're busy. We get into fatigue. That's going to, if you're tired, you're not going to think straight. You're going to make really bad choices. People are going to keep trying to talk to you and keep explaining the same thing over and over again. We don't want to be that person. Again, allergies and sensitivities. If you're having allergies or even like food allergies or sensitivities. I didn't bring my test kit, but just like I've done muscle testing here, you could do muscle testing and expose people to different things to smell or taste or even energetically, and that is going to affect your nervous system because your body, anytime it gets exposed to things, all these nerves are telling your brain information, and it's going to affect how your muscle test works. And so I've had people that we've been able to find sensitivities to certain things that they eat or maybe they drink, and once we remove that, they sleep better, they feel better, have less pain. So it's amazing what the body can do if you get all those stressors away, even the chemical stressors we eat and drink. And again, pain. We've talked about pain a couple of times. Pain comes from bad posture, comes from how we're sitting, comes from old injuries and trauma that you've accumulated over the years. All that adds up, and your body figures out how to compensate for it, which is good for the moment, but over time, if your car is pulling to the left and you keep straightening the steering wheel, things are going to wear out, and that's what happens to our body. And so you have to be able to figure that out both on your own with things you do to exercise and stretch, but also have somebody help get those moving parts moving properly. So again, chiropractic. I'm going to throw a plug in for Apply Kinesiology because that's a muscle testing. If you've been to chiropractors, you've probably never seen someone doing the muscle testing part. That's a specialty that I do, but it's going to help with all these things and decrease that whole list right there. And that's a list of things we don't want. And again, you can see things like disease, illness, anxiety. They can definitely help with that because it helps your system just work better. I'm not saying we cure diseases or we cure things, but if you can help your body function better, then it's going to be able to avoid and fight those things better than you could before. And then again, we're looking at the nervous system. If you look at this chart with all these organs, if I want my heart and stomach to work better, well, then I'm going to work in this area. But also your vagus nerve, which connects it, comes from up here as well. Or maybe I've got to work on the bones around the skull in order to help them to move better because it's getting tension from clenching your jaw for many years. So there's a lot of areas that we're going to influence the whole body through that. And finally, looking at wellness, we call it Triad of health. And that's where we have the structural and physical. We talked about the spine, the neck, the muscles. We have our nutritional, chemical, the things, the fuel we put in our body and the things that we're exposed to, and the emotional, the stressors external stressors that we're constantly exposed to. All those are going to affect us and make it difficult for us to focus at work, be productive, and be happy like we want to. We want to be happy, right? We want to smile, we want to laugh, we want to joke with people. We don't want to feel like this in the corner and not happy because we're here most of our time, so we want to enjoy it. So that is my presentation. I appreciate you, the volunteers that came up and let me do some testing. Again, I apologize for being late, hopefully not making you late going back. This is something that I offer when I come to these things. The London Foundation is a foundation that worked with many families, and my family including, because they work with the children whose parents have like cancer or some kind of issue. And they provide opportunities for the children to get things or go to camps or things like that. And so they did a lot with my family. My wife went through some issues with tumors that we had, and they helped us out a lot with making donations and providing support for our kids for some different camps and opportunities. And so I like to try to give back to them. But if you make a small donation, then I offer a full exam, kind of like what I did today. We do muscle testing, we ask questions. I'm also offering, which I don't always do an exam, is go through, I've got a test kit of common foods that we can go through if you want to. Some people don't want to know, but I think it's important to go through and check food sensitivities of things that maybe you can avoid to help your body feel better. And oftentimes, if you can heal this, it will go away and you can have those things again. Unless, like I said, unless it's like one of those like peanut allergy things where you're gonna have anaphylactic like issue. I'm not gonna claim that your body's gonna get better with that. So if you're interested in that, let me know. And if you want to come in and let me work on you. But I appreciate you letting me come in and talk. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Again, I don't know how much time you have or how much time I have. I'm happy to answer any questions you have here, or you can always contact me at this, and I've got a sign-up sheet if anybody's interested in coming in. So, well, thank you so much. Hopefully, the people that are watching this, if they have questions, you can contact me too. I didn't usually I try to interact with the camera and talk to them, but I did it this time. So, all right. Does anybody have any questions here by chance?
Does your office do both massage and chiropractic?
We have a massage therapist and we have and I'm the chiropractor. When it comes to insurance, though, insurance does not pay for massage. A lot of insurance don't pay for massage therapy. They we were doing it before, and other offices have done it, but then when we realized that whenever the coding, it looks, when you code it a certain way for insurance to pay for it, it's coded as if I'm the one doing the massage. And so we did it for a while, not realizing that, and I got paid. But then I was like, this isn't right, and I don't want to get in trouble for doing something. Yeah, there are, and I think, and I've been here 5 years, and before I got here, a lot of them got in trouble in the area. They got audited for those things, and so I really don't want to get audited for anything. So, so when we do massage, there is one insurance plan that does it. I don't know which one it is. You can ask my office manager. I don't think it's with the city.
It's not ours.
Yeah. So, yeah, and she's there. I mean, she's there part time. I need to probably get somebody else in there to do that. But yes, we do massage, and we work with y'all's insurance. We do y'all. I don't know all the details. You have like an allowable, so it's a lot less than what I charge. Like my adjustment fee is usually $55. I think for y'all it's like $32.50 or $29. And I charge a little bit extra because I charge like an extra $18, $19 because I do extra applied kinesiology as a specialty. And so I'll charge a little extra for that, but typically that's what you're looking at for the office visit with me. Let's see. Any other questions? Oh, that's a lot of information. So if y'all ever want to contact me later, and then if anybody's interested in coming in, you can always call me, or my office manager wrote down times of appointment times I have this week. Next week's get into the hall.
Where are you located?
West Ashley. So you know where Charlestown Landing is? So if you're heading from here, going to Charlestown Landing, and you see that Walgreens where the road splits like this, I'm right there on the right across the street from Walgreens. So there's an old bank building with a blue roof, and it says DAS, and it says Motion Dynamics Chiropractic right there.
Is that the old South Carolina Federal Bank?
There was an old bank there. I don't know which one it was. It's like right after the Pizza Hut. There's a Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and it splits to the right, and then you'll see us. And you go a little farther, there's the fire station, and then Charlestown Landing. So it's not far. It takes me, if I come from work, I can be here like 10 minutes or less. It's pretty quick. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I'm going this way, it's not too bad. So I close. I'm there till 6, almost every day except Friday. Midday. I usually come in on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1, and then I finish on the days I'm there all day. I'll close up around 12, open up around 2. But a lot of people from the city all will come at your lunch breaks, and so I'll either stay a little bit later, like they'll come at right at 12 or 12:10, and I'll see them then, or they'll wait on the Tuesday to come around 1 or something like that. So we try to make it work for y'all. And I'm usually there. I try to be there a couple Saturdays every month. Like I'll do a Saturday morning. You just have to ask which Saturdays I'll be there. And I'm usually there from like 8:30 to 10:30.
I was just wondering because my schedule, I'm either coming in at 12 or I'm getting off at 1.
Got it.
So,
Yeah. So you just let us know, and I'll try to figure something out. Yeah. I'm pretty flexible, trying to help people out. I realize that sometimes it's hard to get in. So, all right. Any informational questions or just like clinic questions?
I love the fact that you incorporate oriental therapy.
And I'll tap acupuncture points. I can't do needles because you have to be an acupuncturist in this state.
Well, the fact that you use the acupressure at all is
Yeah, I think it's and it's. I mean, you gotta. To me, I look at the whole body as there's so many different things that are happening in here that are affecting different parts. And I got into applied kinesiology because I wanted to be able to help from the inside out. And there was somebody who helped my wife. Again, going back to my wife, who had some major allergies to wheat and dairy that she was having problems with. Every time she got anything with like the tiniest amount of wheat, her mouth would break out like crazy, all these problems. And the doctor was doing different testing, and so he didn't show up with like weakness to wheat or dairy, but he showed a weakness to aluminum. And we were like, what? And he said, do you have problems with deodorants? She said, yeah, I break out like crazy when I wear them. Because a lot of deodorants, if you look on it, has aluminum in it. And she, for a long time, she had to use like a salt rock or something different because if she used deodorants, they would just break out these huge sores. And so once he tested her from some different things to help clear heavy metals out of her liver, I don't know how she decided to try like pizza of all things, which is a ton of cheese and gluten, and it didn't bother her. So it's pretty neat what you can evaluate the body through muscle testing. I'm not saying everything is 100% when it comes to sensitivity testing, even allergy testing, blood testing, not always 100% accurate, but you can find out a lot and help people get better and feel better. And the whole purpose here today was to get to where you can feel better doing your job during your day, because that's where you're here all the time. So, all right.
Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. Hope you enjoyed the salad she made.
Yes, it was wonderful.
Thanks for running across the street to get some plates for me.
Absolutely. I'm actually going to mark. So
Yes, go for it.
Could you get your